The situation in Egypt is the best example to show Hillary and Obama's advocacy for pro-Islamic jihadism, radical Islam, at the expense of the United States and the West. Obama and Hillary are going around saying, oh, all ISIS is a perversion of Islam, and these groups have nothing to do with Islam. 80 plus Islamic terrorist groups have nothing to do with Islam. Iran, who says they're going to exterminate Israel, has nothing to do with Islam. These people are insane. But there's a purpose behind their insanity. They're trying to undermine the West and promote Islamic radicalism for different reasons. Now, let me give you Egypt as the example. Egypt is now, or has been, our best ally, but it wasn't always that way. Before the '67 war, Egypt was allied with Russia against us. Israel beat them in '67, beat them in '73. That prompted Sadat to finally go to Jerusalem, and they made a peace treaty. Then he was killed by radicals. The whole time, he and then his successor, Mubarak, were trying to destroy Muslim Brotherhood, which is the key to all Islamic terror, and they have a plan to take over the United States. It doesn't seem to bother Obama since he's hired so many Muslim Brotherhood people in his administration, and Hillary's top aide, Huma Abedin, is from a Muslim Brotherhood family, and Obama's brother is the head of a Muslim terror group in Kenya. So anyway, Israel beats them. We make a peace treaty with them. And then Obama's very first speech ever in a foreign country was in Egypt. And they begged him, Mubarak begged him not to invite Muslim Brotherhood, but he insisted they come. And he gave the speech not at the Egyptian parliament, but at the Islamic Center, which was a Muslim Brotherhood front. And then Obama starts calling for Mubarak to be eliminated, and he backs Morsi, the Muslim Brotherhood tyrant who called Jews descended from apes and pigs. He backs him, he wins the presidency, and Obama gives him $1.5 billion in our F-16s. And then he's overthrown by this people of Egypt because they know the danger of Muslim Brotherhood terrorism. And Obama turns his back on al-Sisi, the new leader of Egypt, turning his back on our best Western ally. And so Egypt, like Israel, is now forced to turn to the Russians for support because the United States is anti-West and anti-Egypt currently and anti-Israel. And now, does Obama understand Islam better than the Muslim head of the Arabs' largest country, Egypt? El-Sisi says the problem is Islam. He gave a speech to the parliament where he said Islam needs a revolution. The problem is Islam itself. Recent poll says 1 billion out of the 1.6 billion worldwide Muslims support Sharia. In countries like Afghanistan and Pakistan, it's 95%. 25% of U.S. Muslims support violent jihad. 51% support Sharia. And Obama says it's not an issue of Islam. Islam's one of the great peaceful religion. And Hillary says nothing to do with Islam. 80 plus different Islamic terror groups, plus Iran. Saudis are financing extreme Islam, Wahhabism all over the world, and Obama and Hillary are trying to paper it over. And then they make the Iran deal. Hillary was Secretary of State when the idea was born, to give them $150 billion and basically to say, oh, after 10 years you can have your nuclear weapons and destroy Israel. And then under her watch and Obama's help, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and Libya have disintegrated. So change your atlas because they don't exist as countries anymore. They've fallen under the Iranian and Islamic terror network. You got ISIS born under Hillary's Secretary of Stateship. Al-Qaeda expands. You had the fiasco at Benghazi where Hillary and Obama lied, blaming Benghazi and the death of our ambassador and 3 other Americans on a video no one watched just to cover Obama's butt so that he could claim Al-Qaeda was vanquished when it wasn't. We have the mightiest military in the world, which Obama has gutted. Can't take out ISIS in 3 years of fighting them, when Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, said it would take 2 days if Israel got serious about it. But it takes years for the United States military, the greatest in the world, because Obama's not even really trying. And he reserves all his anger for Israel. Israel wants to build a few apartments in the historic capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem, and Hillary calls up Bibi Netanyahu and screams at him for an hour about how dare you build apartments in Jerusalem. Then Obama imports 1 million Muslims to the United States, mostly from Sharia countries, under the radar. People don't even talk about that. And then they want to bring in 100,000 Syrian refugees that are raping their way through Europe, and crime rates up all over Europe. People are afraid to go outside of their houses. We can't vet them. All of our security agencies say we cannot vet these Syrian refugees, and still they want to bring them in. And 13% of them admit that they support ISIS. So of 100,000, that means we're going to bring in at least 13,000 ISIS. Now, ISIS said in February of 2015 that they were going to send 500,000 military men to Europe to rape the women, and that's one of the Islamic ways of conquest called Hiraj. It goes way back to Muhammad's time. So is it that Obama doesn't know this, or he's purposely trying to destroy the United States from within? I mean, I think Egypt is a perfect example of that. And now he was doing it because his father was Muslim. I mean, nobody doubts that. And Reverend Wright, his minister for 26 years, who said, "Goddamn America," excuse the language, confessed that Obama came to him and said, "I don't want to really convert to Christianity from Islam. I want to pretend to." The guy is supporting radical Islamic jihad. Now, Hillary's a different story. I mean, she's as radical as Obama. She was mentored by Saul Alinsky, also Rules for Radicals. But her motivation is money. She and Bill think the whole world is for their personal piggy bank. So while she's Secretary of State, Bill took in hundreds of thousands of dollars in speaking fees from countries that had business before the United States, and they collected hundreds of millions of dollars from those countries for their phony charitable foundation. They set up this foundation to do charity. 10% goes to charity, the rest goes to fund their lifestyle. It's all bribes to impact her decision. So you don't think, now it may be legal, I think it should be bribery. She should be hanged as a traitor for this. But you don't think it's suspicious that while she's Secretary of State, they collect hundreds of millions of dollars, $2 billion altogether, from people that had business before the United States? She's a completely corrupt person. So that's probably her motivation for appeasing Islamic terror. Now, Japan won't take any Muslims. And the 65 Muslim nations, most of them won't take any of these refugees. Now, what do they know that we don't? But Obama and Hillary want to do it, and the Democrats, that's how Looney Tune they are. And then they blame Orlando on guns. 3,000 people killed at the World Trade Center. Those were planes and box cutters. Israel suffers from stabbing attacks with knives and bombs and car rammings. The police chief in Paris was killed the other day because he didn't have a gun. He was killed by a knife. The shoe bomber, that makes us take our shoes off now at every airport, that was a bomb threat. The underwear bomber. Most of the killings by Islamic terror groups around the world are through bombs. It's just a way to advance the fascistic liberals. So I think Egypt is a perfect example of Obama's radical jihadism, and the bribery of Hillary explains her views. And this is, anybody who votes Democratic is looking for suicide. The United States will be destroyed by these Islamic terrorists. Doesn't mean that every Muslim is bad, but 99% of terrorism is Islamic.